Right now, as you sit there breathing, a silent transaction is happening between you and the trees outside. You exhale, they take it in, and inside their trunks, inside their rising branches, your breath is slowly turning into solid wood. That sounds impossible. It sounds poetic, but it is literal science. And here is the part that flips everything upside down. Trees do not grow from the ground. Let that settle for a second. Every textbook drawing shows roots deep in soil, as if dirt is the food, the source, the builder of forests. We look at massive trunks and assume they are made from the earth beneath them. It feels obvious. It feels logical, but it is wrong. If trees do not grow from soil, if the ground is not what turns into wood, then where does all that mass come from? How does a tiny seed become a towering giant that weighs several tons? Where does the substance of a forest truly begin? In this video, you are going to learn what trees are actually made of, and the answer is not mud, not minerals, and not what most people were taught in school. You will discover how air, sunlight, and invisible gases build forests that shape continents. You will learn about a quiet experiment from the 1600s that confused scientists for years and forced them to question everything they believed about plant growth. You will see how one simple misunderstanding lasted for centuries because it felt too obvious to doubt. And by the end, you will understand why the wood in your table, the paper in your notebook, and even the oxygen in your lungs are all part of a hidden cycle that connects you to every tree on Earth. This is not just biology. This is chemistry, physics, and history woven together in a way that changes how you see the world outside your window. A giant oak tree can weigh more than a car, yet it begins as a seed small enough to fit on your fingertip. If that entire mass came from soil, the ground around forests would slowly sink year after year. Fields would hollow out, landscapes would collapse. But that does not happen. The soil remains. The tree rises. For a long time, people believed trees fed on dirt, the way animals feed on food. It felt reasonable. Roots are buried. Growth happens above. Cause and effect seem clear. But nature rarely follows what feels obvious. The truth is far more elegant and far more surprising. Most of the mass of a tree comes from something you cannot see, cannot hold, and barely notice. It comes from the air. There was a time when even scientists struggled to accept this. In the 17th century, a man named Jan Baptist van Helmont planted a small willow tree in a pot and carefully weighed the soil before and after 5 years of growth. The tree gained a massive amount of weight. The soil barely changed. That result did not fit the common belief. It hinted at a deeper process that no one fully understood yet. Decades later, discoveries about gases in the atmosphere began to reveal the missing piece. Carbon dioxide, an invisible gas, turned out to be one of the main building blocks of wood. Through photosynthesis, trees use sunlight as energy to pull carbon from the air and lock it into solid form. The trunk, the bark, the branches, the fibers inside every piece of paper are built from atoms that once floated freely in the sky. This means a forest is not a collection of plants rising from dirt. It is a structure built from air and light. Every ring inside a tree records years of captured atmosphere. Every wooden door, every chair, every wooden house is made from carbon that once drifted above your head. The ground supports the tree, the water feeds its processes, but the true bulk, the true substance, is pulled from the sky. That fact reshapes how we think about climate, about forests, about the balance of gases in our atmosphere. Trees are not just passive decorations in nature, they are massive carbon storage systems. They take what we exhale and what our machines release, and they turn it into forests that stand for centuries. By the end of this video, you will see trees differently. You will understand why cutting down a forest is not just removing wood, but releasing years of stored atmosphere back into the air. You will see why planting trees is not just landscaping, but chemical transformation on a planetary scale. You will grasp how something invisible becomes solid, how gas becomes grain, how breath becomes bark. And once you understand that, the world outside will feel less ordinary. The next time you pass a tree, you will know you are looking at compressed air shaped by sunlight. Stay with me until the end, because the final piece of this story connects your own breathing to the rise of forests in a way that feels almost unreal but is grounded in hard science. The explanation is simple, yet the implications are enormous. It challenges what we assume about growth, matter, and even the boundary between the sky and the ground. This is the kind of knowledge that quietly shifts perspective and never quite leaves your mind. Welcome to our channel, where simple ideas hide powerful truths and everyday things reveal extraordinary science. If you enjoy seeing the world from a new angle and uncovering facts that change how you think, subscribe now and join us for more deep dives into the hidden laws shaping our reality. For a long time, the simple story made perfect sense. Trees eat soil. Their roots dig deep into the ground, pulling in nutrients, and that dirt slowly turns into wood. The bigger the tree, the more soil it must have absorbed. That is what most people picture without even thinking about it. Roots below, trunk above, dirt goes in, wood comes out. It feels obvious because we see plants growing in pots, and when the soil is poor, the plant looks weak, so the mind connects soil directly to size. A huge tree must mean huge amounts of earth turned into solid trunk. But if that were true, forests would leave behind empty pits. The land would slowly sink as trees expanded year after year. Every massive oak would create a hollow beneath it. Yet the ground stays almost the same. The soil under ancient forests does not vanish. It remains, supporting life again and again. That small detail breaks the simple story. If trees were built mostly from dirt, the math would not work. Something else must be happening. Now think about a giant oak tree standing in a field. It can weigh several tons. Its trunk is thick. Its branches stretch wide. Its bark is rough and layered. Birds nest in it. Shade spreads under it. But it began as a seed small enough to rest on a fingertip. That seed held only a tiny amount of matter. It did not contain tons of wood waiting to unfold. So where did the extra mass come from? Not from nowhere. Matter cannot appear from nothing. Every atom in that trunk had to come from somewhere real. The seed splits. A small shoot rises. A few leaves unfold. Slowly, year after year, rings form inside the trunk. Each ring adds more mass. Each branch thickens. Each season leaves its mark. The mystery deepens the longer you look at it. A seed becomes a giant structure that can live for centuries. What builds all that trunk, bark, and branch? What is the true source of the weight you could measure on a scale? The answer feels almost too simple at first. Most of a tree's mass does not come from soil. It comes from the air. Specifically, it comes from carbon dioxide, a gas floating invisibly around us every second. That idea sounds strange because air feels empty. We cannot see carbon dioxide. We cannot hold it in our hands. Yet it contains carbon atoms, and carbon is the backbone of life. Through a process called photosynthesis, trees take carbon dioxide from the air and turn it into solid material. Photosynthesis is not magic. It is chemistry powered by light. Leaves absorb carbon dioxide through tiny openings. Roots absorb water from the soil. Sunlight hits the leaves and provides energy. With that energy, the tree rearranges atoms. It breaks apart carbon dioxide and water and rebuilds them into sugar molecules. Those sugars become the building blocks of the tree's body. Here is how it works. Step by step. Leaves take in carbon dioxide from the air. This gas contains one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms. Roots pull water from the soil. Water contains hydrogen and oxygen. Sunlight strikes the green parts of the leaf, where a pigment called chlorophyll captures light energy. That energy drives a chemical reaction. The tree combines carbon from carbon dioxide with hydrogen from water to form glucose, a simple sugar. Oxygen is released back into the air as a byproduct. That glucose is not just fuel, it is raw material. The tree links many glucose molecules together to form cellulose. Cellulose is strong. It forms the walls of plant cells. Layer upon layer of cellulose builds fibers. Fibers bundle into wood. Over time, those layers stack and harden, creating the trunk you see. So the mass of the tree is mostly carbon taken from the air, locked into solid form by sunlight and water. Centuries ago, this was not obvious. A scientist named Jan Baptist van Helmont performed a careful experiment. He planted a small willow tree in a pot and weighed the soil. For 5 years he watered the tree, but added no extra soil. When he weighed everything again, the tree had gained a large amount of weight. The soil had lost almost none. That result challenged the belief that soil turned directly into wood. If the mass did not come from the dirt, it had to come from somewhere else. At the time, gases in the air were poorly understood, so the answer remained incomplete. Later, another scientist, Joseph Priestley, discovered that plants interact with air in a special way. He showed that plants could restore air that had been damaged by burning candles. This led to the discovery of oxygen and helped reveal that plants change the composition of the atmosphere. Step by step, science uncovered the hidden exchange between leaves and air. The missing mass of trees was not hidden underground. It was floating above us all along. When this realization sinks in, it shifts perspective. Trees are made of air. The wooden table in your home is mostly carbon pulled from the sky. The paper you touch began as carbon dioxide, drifting invisibly in the atmosphere. Even the charcoal from a campfire was once part of the air before being fixed into plant tissue. It feels impossible because we treat air as empty space. But air is a mixture of gases, and those gases contain atoms. Trees are master builders. They take scattered carbon atoms from the atmosphere and assemble them into solid frameworks that can stand for hundreds of years. What looks like solid ground growth is actually sky transformed into structure. From a wider view, this process shapes the entire planet. Trees pull carbon from the sky and store it in trunks, branches, roots, and soil. Some trees live for decades, others survive for centuries. During that time, they act as carbon storage systems, reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Forests become vast reservoirs of captured air, held in living form. That is why forests matter in discussions about climate. When trees are cut and burned, the carbon stored inside them returns to the atmosphere. The balance shifts. The invisible exchange speeds up. Understanding that trees are built from air makes their role in the global carbon cycle clearer and more urgent. The ground still matters. Soil provides minerals. It anchors roots. It supplies water. But soil is not the main ingredient of wood. The real bulk comes from sunlight, driving chemical reactions that pull carbon from thin air. The ground supports the tree, but the sky builds it. Each ring inside a trunk represents a year of captured carbon, a record of air turned into matter. Each leaf is a small factory powered by light. The next time you look at a forest, you are seeing millions of leaves working quietly, pulling atoms from the atmosphere and turning them into solid life. The common belief that trees eat dirt fades away, replaced by a deeper understanding of how light, water, and invisible gas shape the living world. So in the end, the truth is simple but powerful. Trees are not rising out of dirt the way we once believed. They are rising out of the sky. Every trunk is captured carbon. Every branch is shaped sunlight. Every ring inside the wood is a record of invisible gas turned into solid life. What looks heavy and grounded is actually built from something weightless and unseen. That changes the way you look at a forest. It changes the way you look at a single leaf. It even changes the way you think about the air around you right now. Because if trees are built from the air, if something invisible can become something you can touch, measure, and stand beneath, then the world is far less simple than it appears. And that leads to one final thought. If trees are built from the air, what else around you is made from something you can even see? If this video changed the way you see the world, take a second to like it, share it with someone who loves deep ideas, and subscribe to our channel for more simple truths that completely reshape reality. The next time you breathe out, remember, you might be feeding a forest.